Religion is universally regarded as a pillar of human civilization. It's seen as the foundation of morality, the source of community bonds, and the provider of spiritual guidance that has shaped societies for thousands of years. Across every continent and culture, faith traditions are treated with reverence, protected by custom, and woven into the fabric of daily life. Courts in nearly every nation allow witnesses to swear oaths on holy books, granting religious texts legal authority in justice systems. Governments provide tax exemptions to religious organizations, recognizing them as charitable institutions deserving special protection. School curricula around the world include religious instruction, embedding these teachings into the minds of children as foundational knowledge. Religious leaders are given platforms at state functions, their blessings invoked at the opening of legislative sessions and during times of national crisis. This isn't just cultural tradition, it's institutional endorsement at the highest levels. For millennia, humanity has turned to religion for answers to life's most profound questions. Where did we come from? What happens when we die? How should we live? What gives existence meaning? These are the questions that keep people awake at night, and religion has presented itself as the only reliable source of answers. It offers ethical frameworks that claim to separate right from wrong, promises of justice beyond this life, and the comfort of believing that suffering has purpose. But when you examine its actual mechanics, something troubling emerges. When you strip away the ceremonies, the architecture, and the emotional appeals, religion operates using the exact same psychological manipulation tactics, resource extraction methods, and control mechanisms that define history's most successful confidence schemes. It creates problems only it can solve. It demands payment for promises it cannot prove. It exploits fear while selling hope. And it has constructed a system so effective that victims don't just accept their exploitation, they defend it passionately against anyone who questions it. If this perspective challenges everything you've been taught, hit that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts. Because what comes next gets even more uncomfortable. What makes religion different from a street con artist isn't the absence of deception. It's the scale, the sophistication, and the audacity to operate in plain sight for centuries. Where a typical scam might fool people for weeks or months before being exposed, religion has perfected techniques that keep entire populations compliant for generations. It has learned how to make unfalsifiable claims that remain immune to scrutiny, no matter how much evidence accumulates against them. It has discovered how to embed itself so deeply into culture and identity that removing it feels like self-destruction. And at the heart of this entire system lies one fundamental tool, the same hook that every successful con artist uses to pull in their marks: fear. Fear is religion's primary recruitment tool, and it works because it targets the deepest anxieties embedded in human consciousness. Fear of death, fear of eternal punishment, fear of living in a meaningless universe where suffering has no purpose and consciousness simply ends. Fear of being alone, abandoned, forgotten. These aren't trivial concerns. They're existential terrors, the kind that keep people awake in the dark hours of the night. And religion has built its entire foundation on exploiting them. The pitch is devastatingly effective. You're told that without religion, you are lost, that your life has no meaning outside of divine purpose, that when you die, if you haven't accepted the right beliefs and performed the right rituals, you face not just nothingness, but active torment, eternal suffering, separation from everything you love, punishment so severe and so endless that no crime in this finite life could possibly justify it. This is the manufactured crisis, the problem that religion creates and then positions itself as the only solution to. But here's where it mirrors classic con artist methodology. The solution isn't just faith in general, it's this specific God, worshipped through this specific tradition, accessed through these specific rituals, mediated by these specific authorities. It's the same tactic a fraudster uses when they tell you that only they can protect you from a threat they've either exaggerated or invented entirely. The exclusivity is essential. If any path worked, the institution would lose its leverage. By claiming monopoly on salvation, religion ensures that followers can't shop around or find alternatives without risking everything. The genius of this scam is that it structures its promises to be completely immune to verification. A con artist selling fake medicine will eventually be exposed when their product fails to cure anyone. A financial fraudster will be caught when the promised returns never materialize. But religion promises its rewards after death, in a realm that no one can visit and return from to file a complaint or leave a review. It's like selling tickets to a show that only begins once the audience is gone forever. There's no refund policy, because there's no way to prove the show never happened. This makes religion fundamentally different from claims we can test. If someone says they can predict the stock market, we can check their predictions. If a product claims to clean better than competitors, we can run tests. But when religion claims that believing in a particular deity will grant eternal paradise, while disbelief results in eternal torture, there's no mechanism for verification until it's permanently too late to change your decision. The entire system is designed to be unfalsifiable. Every outcome can be interpreted to support the narrative. Good things happen? God is blessing you. Bad things happen? God is testing you. Or you haven't prayed hard enough. Or it's part of a mysterious plan beyond human understanding. This isn't spiritual guidance. It's a psychological trap, one that makes it impossible to disprove the claims, no matter what evidence appears. And once that fear has done its work, once people are convinced they need salvation, the resource extraction begins. Religion asks for money, but never frames it as a transaction. It's a tithe, an offering, a sacred duty. The more you give, the more faithful you are. The less you give, the more your commitment is questioned. In the most successful religious systems, this wealth accumulates tax-free, allowing institutions to build empires while their followers are taught that poverty is noble, and that storing up treasures in heaven matters more than financial security on earth. But the extraction of resources goes far deeper than simple donations. The system has perfected methods of consolidating wealth while keeping followers grateful for their own poverty. The financial structure of religion reveals the scam most clearly. Religious organizations in most countries enjoy tax-exempt status, meaning they accumulate wealth without contributing to the public infrastructure that protects and enables them. They build vast real estate portfolios, invest in media empires, and fund political campaigns, all while paying nothing to the governments that grant them this privilege. Meanwhile, their followers are encouraged to find contentment in modest living, to store treasures in heaven rather than on earth, to give generously even when they can barely afford it. The wealth flows upward into institutional coffers, and the benefits flow downward only in carefully controlled measures. When religion does engage in charitable work, it's rarely without strings attached. Aid to the poor often comes bundled with proselytizing. Disaster relief includes conversion efforts. Schools and hospitals built by religious organizations serve as recruitment centers, where vulnerable populations are offered help in exchange for exposure to doctrine. The assistance provided is real, but it's a fraction of the vast resources accumulated, and it functions less as genuine compassion and more as marketing. This isn't generosity, it's a strategy to expand reach while maintaining the appearance of moral superiority. Perhaps the most audacious element of the scam is how religion has disguised itself as the very source of morality itself. By claiming to be the foundation of all ethical values, religion positions itself as indispensable to human society. People are told that without it, there would be no concept of right or wrong, no basis for justice, no reason for compassion. This is like a con artist convincing you they invented the idea of honesty, so you must trust them completely. In reality, moral behavior existed long before organized religion appeared. Archaeological and anthropological evidence shows cooperative, altruistic behavior in human societies that predates any known religious system. And today, some of the most ethical, peaceful, and well-functioning societies on Earth are also among the most secular. Countries with low religious participation consistently rank high in measures of social welfare, low corruption, and human rights. The claim that morality requires religion is demonstrably false. But the claim persists because it's essential to maintaining the institution's power. Control of information has been one of religion's most effective tools for maintaining this power. Throughout history, religious authorities decided which books could be read, which ideas could be taught, and which questions could even be asked. Libraries were purged of texts deemed heretical. Scientific findings that contradicted doctrine were suppressed. Scholars who challenged official teachings were labeled heretics and faced exile, torture, or execution. The goal was never to protect truth. It was to protect the monopoly on truth. By controlling what people could know and think, religion ensured that competing explanations for existence, morality, and meaning never gained traction. Even today, in numerous countries, questioning religious dogma publicly can result in imprisonment, violence, or death. This isn't the behavior of a system confident in its claims. It's the behavior of a system that knows scrutiny is dangerous. And this control isn't just historical. The system has evolved, developing sophisticated methods of adapting to avoid exposure. Methods that keep it thriving, even when its claims are proven false. Religion's survival over centuries isn't evidence of its truth. It's evidence of its adaptability. When science disproves a religious claim, the institution doesn't admit error. It reinterprets. The earth isn't the center of the universe? Well, the scripture was always meant metaphorically. Evolution contradicts the creation story? Actually, the days of creation represent ages, not literal days. Medical advances explain what were once called miracles. God works through natural processes. This shifting of the goalposts keeps followers from recognizing that the system was wrong in the first place. It creates the illusion that religion has always been compatible with discovered truth, when in reality, it's simply revising its positions after being proven incorrect. A genuine source of divine knowledge wouldn't need constant updates to match human discoveries. The authority of religion is also maintained through deliberate spectacle, elaborate robes and vestments, towering cathedrals and temples, sacred titles that set leaders apart from ordinary people, carefully choreographed rituals performed with precise movements and ancient languages. These aren't accidental traditions. They're tools of psychological influence. The visual grandeur sends a message that the people conducting these ceremonies are not like you. They are elevated, chosen, connected to forces beyond human understanding. This manufactured aura of authority makes followers less likely to challenge religious leaders, because doing so feels like challenging the divine itself. Strip away the costumes and the architecture, and you're left with people making claims they cannot prove. But the pageantry ensures that followers rarely see it that way. Perhaps the most effective recruitment strategy is targeting children. Religion understands that beliefs embedded early are the hardest to question later. Young minds are shaped through stories, songs, repetition, and ritual before they develop the capacity for critical evaluation. By the time a person reaches adulthood, these ideas feel like core components of their identity. Questioning them doesn't feel like examining a hypothesis. It feels like betraying family, abandoning community, dismantling the self. This is intentional. Capture the mind young enough, and you create a believer who will defend the system for life, not because the evidence is strong, but because rejecting it would require psychological demolition. The genius of this scam lies in how it turns victims into its most passionate defenders. Those who are most exploited often become its loudest advocates, attacking anyone who criticizes the faith. They do this not because they've been presented with compelling evidence, but because their entire sense of meaning, belonging, and identity is tied to keeping the belief structure intact. It's the same psychological trap seen in victims of financial fraud who refuse to accept they've been deceived, even when investigators show them the proof. Admitting the truth would mean confronting how much they've lost, how foolish they've been, and how their trust was weaponized against them. For many, it's easier to double down on the belief than to face that reality. But perhaps the most insidious aspect of this system isn't how it recruits. It's how it ensures people can never leave, even when they want to. Religion doesn't just recruit followers, it creates permanent dependency. One of its most effective tactics is the claim to exclusive truth. Many faiths teach that they alone possess the correct path to salvation, and that all others are false, corrupt, or incomplete. This creates a sense of specialness among believers, but it also ensures division. People are less likely to unite against the system when they're taught to see outsiders as spiritually dangerous. When every competing religion is framed as a threat to eternal salvation, followers become isolated in their own doctrinal bubble, unable to seriously consider that they might all be equally unfounded. This divide-and-conquer approach has kept the scam running even when hundreds of contradictory religions exist simultaneously. each making identical claims to exclusive truth, with identical lack of evidence. The emotional manipulation extends beyond fear into hope. Religion promises perfect justice, where the wicked are punished and the righteous rewarded. It offers eternal happiness, free from pain, loss, and disappointment. It guarantees reunions with deceased loved ones in a paradise beyond imagination. These are some of the most powerful desires humans possess, things no earthly system can deliver with certainty. Religion exploits them by offering absolute certainty where none exists. The cost of this comfort is obedience, conformity, and often a lifetime of financial and emotional investment. People hand over their autonomy, their critical thinking, and their resources in exchange for promises that can never be verified until after death. Even suffering is weaponized to strengthen the system rather than expose its failures. When tragedy strikes, when prayers go unanswered, when the faithful experience the same hardships as everyone else, religion doesn't acknowledge the absence of divine intervention. Instead, it reframes the suffering. It's part of God's plan. It's a test of faith. It's punishment for hidden sins. It's preparation for greater blessings later. This prevents followers from blaming the system when it fails to deliver protection or relief. In fact, it often deepens their commitment. When someone suffers, they're encouraged to pray harder, give more generously, and obey more strictly, as if the solution to the system's failure is greater investment in that same system. It's a closed loop, where every outcome, good or bad, is interpreted as confirmation of the belief. Religion has also been one of history's most effective tools for political control. By declaring that laws are divinely ordained and that rulers are chosen or approved by God, it discourages rebellion. People who might challenge injustice are told they'd be fighting against divine will itself. This allows corrupt leaders to cloak themselves in religious authority and avoid accountability. The population is kept compliant not just through earthly power, but through the threat of supernatural punishment for disobedience. It's a partnership between political and religious authority, one that benefits both at the expense of everyone else. The system is also self-replicating. Each generation of believers raises the next, typically with minimal exposure to alternative perspectives. Children are brought up inside the belief structure, taught that questioning it is dangerous or sinful, and surrounded by community members who reinforce the same ideas. By the time they're old enough to think independently, the belief is so embedded that examining it critically feels impossible. This creates a cycle where doubt is rare, dissent is punished socially, and the scam perpetuates itself without needing external enforcement. These psychological mechanisms would be impressive if they weren't so harmful, but they're only part of how religion has woven itself so deeply into human culture that removing it feels like tearing away identity itself. Religion's durability comes from how completely it has entangled itself with culture. Traditions, holidays, and family rituals all get wrapped in religious meaning, even when their origins had nothing to do with the faith that now claims them. A wedding becomes not just a social celebration, but a spiritual contract overseen by religious authority. A funeral transforms from a goodbye into an act of faith in a promised afterlife. Birth rituals, coming-of-age ceremonies, even daily meals are infused with religious significance. By embedding itself into life's most emotional moments, religion ensures its presence is felt at every milestone. This makes questioning it not merely an intellectual exercise, but an emotional upheaval that threatens to strip meaning from the most important experiences of a person's life. History offers endless examples of religion being used to justify the very actions it claims to condemn. Wars, persecutions, slavery, oppression, all defended from pulpits and justified through holy books. The same religious texts have been interpreted to support both peace and violence, kindness and cruelty, liberation and subjugation. When a moral system is flexible enough to justify any action, depending on who's interpreting it, it becomes clear the system isn't about truth. It's about power. A con artist thrives when the rules can bend to benefit them in every situation, and religion's moral code has proven remarkably adaptable to the needs of those in charge. The charitable image religion cultivates is another layer of the deception. Many religious organizations do provide aid, but rarely without conditions. Help comes alongside proselytizing. Disaster relief includes conversion efforts. Food banks operated by churches require attendance at services. The resources given represent a tiny fraction of the vast wealth accumulated, and the act of giving serves primarily to strengthen the institution's public image and expand its reach. This is not generosity. It is marketing disguised as compassion, a calculated strategy to appear indispensable while protecting the core assets. The blame-shifting mechanism remains one of religion's most insidious features. When prayers are answered, it's presented as proof of divine power in the validity of the faith. When prayers go unanswered, the fault lies with the believer's insufficient faith, unconfessed sins, or it's explained away as the mystery of God's will. The system is never at fault. Successes are credited to it. Failures are attributed to human inadequacy. This closed loop ensures that every outcome reinforces the narrative, making it psychologically impossible to disprove the claims through experience. In the modern age, where information is accessible and scientific literacy is higher, religion has adapted rather than collapsed. Some traditions have rebranded themselves as spiritual but not religious, softening the dogma while maintaining the same core exploitation. Others have embraced pseudoscientific language, talking about energy frequencies, quantum consciousness, and vibrations to make ancient superstitions sound compatible with contemporary knowledge. The terminology changes, but the underlying structure remains. Unfalsifiable claims, emotional manipulation, resource extraction, resistance to scrutiny. Social pressure continues to be one of religion's most effective enforcement mechanisms. In communities where faith is the cultural norm, not participating means isolation. Friends distance themselves. Family relationships strain. Professional opportunities shrink. Social invitations dry up. The choice is framed as between belonging and being cast out. And most people choose belonging, even if it means publicly accepting ideas they privately doubt. This isn't genuine belief. It's compliance born from the fear of exclusion, and it keeps the system populated with people who would leave if the social cost weren't so devastating. The system's survival isn't just about adapting its message. It's about perfecting the art of making dissent impossible, both socially and psychologically. The most revealing aspect of religion's scam-like nature is its exemption from the standards of proof we apply to everything else. If someone claims they have a cure for cancer, we demand clinical trials, peer-reviewed studies, reproducible results. If a company advertises a product with specific benefits, we expect evidence that it delivers what it promises. If an investment advisor guarantees returns, we require transparency and accountability. But when religion makes the most extraordinary claims imaginable, infinite rewards, eternal punishment, divine intervention in daily affairs, it asks for a complete exemption from scrutiny. Faith is presented not as a weakness in the argument, but as a virtue. Believing without evidence isn't seen as gullibility. It's celebrated as spiritual strength. This double standard is not accidental. It's essential to the system's survival. Religion has surrounded itself with so many layers of tradition, emotion, and manufactured authority that challenging it feels dangerous on multiple levels. Socially dangerous because it risks isolation. Emotionally dangerous because it threatens identity. Intellectually dangerous because it requires questioning beliefs tied to family, community, and existential comfort. The result is a system that can be factually wrong, demonstrably harmful in its effects, and still thrive for millennia because it has made itself functionally untouchable, subjected to the same tests as any other claim. Religion collapses. Its core assertions cannot be verified. Its moral guidance has required constant revision to keep pace with evolving human ethics. Its predictions about the natural world have been repeatedly disproven. Its promises remain forever unfulfilled in any testable way. Yet it persists, not because it has earned credibility, but because it has successfully convinced billions that demanding credibility is itself an act of moral failure. In the modern world, religion's survival depends on invisible integration. It's embedded in the phrases we use without thinking, the laws we accept as normal, the moral assumptions we rarely examine. Public officials invoke divine blessings. National mottos reference God. Holidays rooted in religious tradition are treated as secular celebrations, keeping the rituals alive even as belief declines. Media portrayal consistently frames faith as virtuous and skepticism as cold or arrogant. This constant cultural repetition keeps religious narratives alive in the background of daily life, normalizing ideas that would seem absurd if encountered for the first time as an adult. The cost of this continued dominance isn't just personal, it's societal. When laws are shaped by religious belief rather than evidence, they can cause real harm. Restrictions on medical procedures, limitations on scientific research, discrimination codified into legislation, all justified by appeals to divine authority rather than demonstrable benefit. When education is filtered through religious doctrine, knowledge is distorted or suppressed to protect belief. When moral decisions defer to ancient texts rather than reason and compassion, injustice gets perpetuated across generations. These aren't abstract harms. They affect real people in measurable ways every day. The challenge isn't just seeing through this system personally. It's understanding how it continues shaping our world and finding ways to resist its influence, recognizing the tactics, questioning the assumptions, refusing to grant unearned authority to claims simply because they're labeled religious. It means meeting genuine human needs for meaning, community, and moral framework, without surrendering to systems built on unfounded promises and psychological manipulation. If this analysis has shifted your perspective, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more content that questions what we're told never to question. Because the longer we allow systems built on fear and false promises to operate unchallenged, the more they shape reality in their image. Religion has survived, not by being right, but by being untouchable. It has built walls of tradition, emotion, and social pressure so high that most people never attempt to look over them. But those walls protect nothing but the institution itself. And for a scam that's been running longer than any other in human history, that's a legacy too costly to ignore.